Hello, everyone. This is Women's Grandmaster Sabina Foysher. We're back with another class in session. Today, we have as a guest Sofia Doroshenko, who is into chess and wrestling. And I'm super excited to have you here, Sofia. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here too and just share with you guys more about what the event is about and whatnot.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear that someone is into chess and into wrestling. So it's gonna be kind of an exciting discussion, I think, to hear more about your story with how you got into chess and also into wrestling. So tell me a little bit about your journey. What was the drive behind you learning to play chess, and what made you come into the game?
Okay, so I did swimming in high school and the season had ended and I just decided to walk into the chess classroom because I'm like every other club was kind of boring in my opinion. Well, I also like did join some more clubs later, but that was the first one that spiked my interest. And I walk in, I play the captain. Of course, I got beat pretty badly, and out of spite, I just kept coming back, right, and trying to work on my own. And eventually I made it up to captain. And well, I'm just trying to still improve today. Although with college it is a little bit hard, but yeah, I did start kind of late in chess, but gonna move to wrestling then as
Well,
well.
well, you told me before we recorded this, you told me that your grandpa has had something to do to introduce you to chess. Was he the first one who introduced you when you um before you got to high school at an earlier age? Or tell me his impact into you getting into chess in the first place.
Oh yeah, I did start off when I was like around 6,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately he died, but before that he was really trying to get me into it. Like he would give me $1 every time I solved a chess puzzle. Just like it was a really good time. And so later I just got back into it again, and I'm just hoping to kind of you honor his legacy and try to make it better. I really do wish I could play with him today. And just I'm actually wondering what his level was for real.
That's interesting. It's actually I love to hear your grandpa taught you in the first place to play chess. I remember myself growing up. I come from a chess family, but my grandpa was the one who would play with me, and he would usually let me win. I could tell he would let me win at a young age, and I was not very happy about it. As I grew up, he was more serious about it. Unfortunately, I understand for you because he passed away when you were quite young. You didn't really get the chance to maybe feel those things. But it's nice to hear that you came back to the game, and you wanted to kind of get to be the strongest in that high school, and you managed to do that. Tell me, Sophia, your level right now, you're about 17, 1800 rated.
In FIDE 1800, but
Nice.
in USCF, I'm still a little bit low because of college. I haven't had much time to play. Uh, so it's kind of like one tournament every few months or whatnot, unfortunately.
Do you get much time to spend on chess and trying to improve your game, being able to combine it with school and such, or is it harder the more you advance in your college career?
Undergraduate degree,
Yeah.
yeah. So I will say my freshman and sophomore year, I would just ignore my classes entirely and I would just try to really, really practice. I would spend my evenings at night just like playing chess. Like at midnight, I would come back from my job at the library and I would work like from maybe 9 p.m. to 11:30, and then I'd just go and I'd play chess. And so between that and classes, I was very sleep deprived, and then the schedule only gets worse because I'm a chemistry major and I also have a music and an English minor, which is I know a really funny combination.
It is. It's very exciting though. How did all of those things come about? Sophia, how did you get to, because like one is science, and then you have the music and English that are more like arts. And usually people are focusing on one, either science or art. So I really want to know how that interest developed for you.
Okay, well, chemistry, I just kind of walked in and I looked at biology and I'm like, there are too many people to compete with. So that's why I chose chemistry. Um,
Okay, but chemistry is quite difficult. I mean, you don't. It's not a walk in the park for most. Um,
Oh, it definitely isn't. I enjoy it, but I think I don't know if I enjoy it on the same level as, let's say, an art. And I recently learned that actually. I only learned like my junior year that
mhm,
I really enjoy writing. And I just walked into this English professor's office and I needed to get a core credit done. That's like a big thing my school pushes, liberal arts education.
mhm.
And I only realized once I did some creative writing, I was like, I really enjoyed this. I wish I could major in this, but I was already so far on the track as well. So it's kind of hard to double major at that point. So I just settled for a minor in
Mm.
English.
And what about music?
I play an instrument and they offer free lessons if you minor. So
Oh, so you get
yeah.
to be better. So you love learning, Sophia. I can see that you love learning and getting better at everything that you do. Is that something that I'm feeling?
Yeah, that's definitely like I don't know if that's even a hobby on its own, but yeah, I'm definitely into it. I actually also recently like this is very recent, but my school offered like ballet lessons
Mm-hmm.
and I just started taking those and they actually really improved your core. Like for wrestling, I felt like a big difference. It was so nice.
So you mentioned wrestling. You're very excited to share with everyone listening to this podcast about your the fact that you do wrestling. Tell me a little bit how you got into that and why you think is important.
Yeah, so wrestling, I also started kind of late, like sophomore to junior year of high school. I was really worried about joining originally because I was like, okay, at my chess club, I had experienced like a bit of sexism. And so I was like, oh, the same thing's probably gonna happen here. But the wrestling people were so nice. They never judge you because everyone's always, sweaty and after practice or during. And there's just they were just so kind to me and very encouraging. And sometimes I had to wrestle people that were a little bigger than me because you're not always gonna get your like the partner right that's your weight. So some days like I had to wrestle like I'm 150 right, and then I had to
Mm-hmm.
wrestle someone that was like 170 and maybe even like 200 like right. There's just no because I was the only girl. Later at the time there was one before me, but then like there are also two other ones, but they kind of dropped out slowly, unfortunately. But that's just because the school did not really seem to put a big emphasis on it was just men's wrestling. No one thought much about it.
And this was when you were still in high school, right?
Yes, yeah.
Was it around the same time as chess came into your life back again?
So I started chess and then I think like a few months later I started wrestling
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like there's something about it, the grit and just like you work yourself until your limits. Like you have to push yourself past some mental barriers and I just really enjoy that feeling of satisfaction after.
And I heard you saying that it wasn't. I would expect to hear that when you first get started that you'd be paired with other girls or other women, but in your high school you're mentioning that it was both together. Did you ever feel uncomfortable, or is this a normal thing in wrestling that men and women would be paired with each other, or is it something that they were doing because there weren't enough females so they couldn't like actually start a club?
Oh yeah, there were at my high school specifically. They did, it was only technically a men's team, and I didn't know a woman could join until
Mm-hmm.
someone told me that like there was a girl on the team, and she was varsity. She was crazy, like in terms of she would take on people way bigger than her.
Mm-hmm.
She was very scary. She was also very good. Um, and I heard about that, and I was like, oh, why don't I join then? So I joined and well, at first, obviously, they start you off with as a beginner, like you just work with whoever's around you. You just work with whoever your partner is. And in matches, I went against men and I went against women sometimes, but most of the time they didn't have women. So of course I had to go against the boys. And I
Interesting.
was okay with it. I was fine.
That's very interesting, and I wanna learn another thing because we're comparing here, and we're gonna hear more about how this the event that you're organizing. We're gonna hear about it a bit later, but I'm curious in chess, for example, when people prepare for tournaments, like right going before the game, they like some people, not everyone, to do some tactics as a way of exercising, getting the warm up before a tournament or right before a game. What kind of work do you do warm up? I'm assuming you do warm up before a wrestling match too, right?
Yeah,
You
because
have
usually
to.
the matches are on a different day than your practice, like, on a weekend or something. And so there are these things called shots, sprawls, like you work through a few different exercises. Maybe, right, you get a partner and you just practice a bunch of moves on them. The same way that in, right, chess, you might work from different positions, right? You need to make sure you know your end game. Well, it's the same way. It's not, you're not just going to get someone with one move,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you got to grind them down the same way
Mm-hmm.
that you would in chess.
And you're learning first the way you're supposed to fall or like not to fall. You learn the exercises when you're first learning to wrestle, right?
Yes, there are a few basic ones that every beginner should know. And once you know those, you can get to wrestle. Like our coach calls it your bread and butter sort of to the beginners.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, right, you have to know it.
It's very interesting because in chess I feel that there are various ways that you are taught to play. Some people start by showing openings and showing if it's a kid, for example, who learns, showing them how they should set up the pieces. Other people like myself, when I start teaching kids, for example, I like to start with end games, even if it's the end part. I think it's more important for them to visualize the board, but I'm assuming in wrestling it's more
There are
straight.
things exactly like you mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, share
So
them, please.
openings,
Okay.
yeah, openings, I can compare them to hand fighting. You have to know how to actually begin, right? And then, right, like you're not just going to be able to put your hands on them and just right away go into a move. You have to know you're going to have to grip them, you're going to have to move them around, you're feeling out their weaknesses, right? And just you're seeing how they react. It's like, right, and then in the end game, once you get someone down, like actually, yeah, I have noticed in teaching, right, beginners, okay, how do you finish, right? That's how they ask. How
Hmm.
do you finish it? Like in terms of when you show the end game, there are a lot of different ways to finish it. Like maybe you're on top of someone, right? And you need to know how to roll them over. You need to know to have like your chest in a T on top of them, or else like it's a lot of different little things like that. They have to know a lot of different techniques.
I'm learning new things with you. I'm glad that worked out. I wasn't sure if it was gonna work out, but okay, that's cool. So now it brings us back to why you thought that chess and wrestling is kind of the kind of idea that could be combined if you're mentioning their similarities. Because at first I wasn't sure, because of course I understand their end parts, but I just wasn't sure what was the process. And tell me a little bit about your how did you feel that the two, besides this part, which is cool, how do you feel that the two, chess and wrestling, could be similar in a way compared to other kind of sports that could be combined with chess?
All right, yeah, that's a really good question to ask because people keep asking, like, people say, "Oh, why not chess golf or
Hmm.
something?" And I'm like, okay, first of all, chess and wrestling, they're both very individual sports. It is your fault if you win or lose. And right, you have to make decisions at every moment. So like let's say, right, I pull someone down, right, and I'm dragging them into me and I'm hoping, I'm like baiting them, I'm seeing if they'll like go for my legs, and then maybe I can, it's called sprawling. then maybe I can throw my hips on top and they will be under me. So, and if that doesn't work, then I have to come up with a different plan. Every moment you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking about a different plan, right? You're seeing what you're doing. In the same way that chess, you have to come up with a plan. You see how your opponent reacts, right? And there's like a lot of psychology. Wrestlers aren't stupid. Like it's insane like how smart some of them are. Like if you talk to them after, they're in a lot of different fields that right because there are so many different positions in wrestling. You have to know how to be when you're on the floor. You have to know how to be when you're neutral, right? You have to know how to get out of like when you're not in the best position the same way that chess is. So I just consider that it's a very also explosive sport, which makes it more interesting. Some people say, why not MMA? And I say that it's because it would be really boring. There would be just people rolling around on the floor for a while, but wrestling is explosive enough to make it interesting. And right, so chess wrestling, your competitor, you have to not only strategize on the chessboard, but you also have to manage your physical endurance, right, and your composure on the mat. And right,
And
sometimes you can
act in the
specialize.
moment too. I can
Mhm.
hear that. Act in the moment, right? Because you need to change. You're saying you have to change. If your opponent does something, you have to change your plan, right? To react and fast enough, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's the same way in Blitz, right? You're sometimes you don't have time to come up with a proper thing. It's just survival,
That's right.
right? Trying to get through the game.
That's
Uh,
uh that's really interesting. Yeah, I wasn't very much familiar with wrestling before I got the chance to learn about your story. So I read at least a little bit, but now I'm sure after this interview I will know even more. Um, so wow. Okay, I'm still taking time to process your explanations. And now I want to hear because I know you were also mentioning about why you think so you compared wrestling with golf and explain to us why that wouldn't be a good combination and tell us now why you don't think chess boxing was necessarily something that you think will get big.
well, first of all, it's much simpler than wrestling. And like I said, in wrestling, you have to know a lot of different positions. In boxing, it's just like, okay, attack, defend. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know very much about it, I will be honest, but also like there's just the issue with your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, as a chess player, I never want to do boxing. This is like the most one of the most valuable things I have. Not that there's much in there, but I still
Come
have to
on.
like yeah. I don't know. I very much value it, and so I don't see it take it out because what grandmaster wants to get their head beaten it? But wrestling is a grappling sport. It's like safer. All you really need is just a soft surface and a friend. And you're like, okay, I'll practice on you, and then you can actually have fun. And then you can have the chess game going, and you're like, okay, how about I dominate you physically and mentally, right, at the same time? Like, how good is that gonna feel?
Mm, very good, I guess. I don't know. By the end of this interview, you might get me to do some wrestling, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure at this point. But
No, it's
you're
so
making it
easy to
compelling.
start.
You're
Like,
making it very, very positive. Like you're making a great argument. That's what I'm saying.
oh, thank you.
So, how? Okay, so. What was the drive behind you thinking that you can compare the two? Did you feel that chess was not getting enough media attention, or it just needed to be combined with something, or how did the idea to combine it together to actually create an event come about?
Well, I mean, honestly, I saw that chess boxing was a thing and people
Mm-hmm.
really loved it. Normal people got really interested in chess because they saw this going on. But the problem is, like, Dina Berenka never wants to do it again, right? I don't think I see the Botez sisters doing anything like this ever again,
Well,
or
I think
anyone.
Andrea
Yeah.
did it again after she did it again after that.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
great. But
yeah.
there hasn't been anything going on, sorry, recently though.
Right.
Is what I mean. So I'm saying it was a momentary blow up. And I think that because it's so dangerous, it's not going to take off with any masters. But
Mm-hmm.
this could because, right, it's just less dangerous. It's more like I'm going to physically subdue you
Mm-hmm.
versus like in MMA, they actually get them to the point where they're physically like unable to move, right? Or they're in pain,
Hmm.
which is why I'm like MMA, maybe not so much for chess players, but wrestling, it's just okay, I get my opponent's shoulder blades on the mat, right? Or I score a lot of points and we're good. It's just basically subduing them in different through different tactics, right?
Hmm. And so how did you, okay, so you had this idea in mind. Whom did you approach to create? Because I know you're gonna tell me about this event that you're organizing. So tell me how everything came together
Everything's gonna
to,
plan out.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, honestly, we had a pilot event last year. There's an interview up with some beginners. And so we had that. We had our pilot event, and I just wanted to see how this in theory would run. And so this year we have John Bartholomew who's going to do a simul for us, and he's also going to commentate.
Nice.
Um, yeah, we also were running a chess festival as well. So people will actually come and get to play some games. And then in the evening of March 1st, right, this is going to be a 2-day tournament. So on March 1st, we're actually going to have the chess wrestling competition, and people will get to see what that's like. And we're just going to try to basically make this a really fun event, and maybe people will want to try it afterwards themselves as well.
So the first event that you mentioned, well, we're gonna try to put that link in the description once this it gets posted so that people can see what happened before. So that first event that you did, tell me a little bit how it was organized and how many people you had that competing the chess wrestling, and maybe you can share a bit after that the rules that they were like how much they would play chess, how much they would wrestle.
Yes. So we only had about 8 people because I also wanted to limit it because we were training people. Also at school, it's just hard because we mostly had McAllister students
Mm-hmm.
and people only have a limited amount of time. But okay, so for making the event happen, I only organized it half a month before, but I was like literally like, okay, can we get or sorry, a month before, I think even. Can we get the gym? And then I got like I just got some chess players and I was like, okay, who wants to learn how to wrestle? Right. And then I have the wrestlers who wants to learn how to do that. And then I had a few people that were like in between like me, right, who knew both. And so my idea is to kind of just try to bring these two worlds together because they're not so different. And sorry, what was the second part of that question? Did I
No,
answer it?
how did it plan out? Like, how much were they playing chess? How much were they wrestling? Like, how many minutes? Because it was with a clock, right?
Yes, yes. So the format, right? It's so they start the chess wrestling match with the chess game,
Mm-hmm.
and they basically alternate between wrestling and chess until there's a winner in either one. So the first player basically to win in either chess or wrestling wins the match. So this kind of also gave everyone even odds, right? Because you can survive against the master in chess and get to wrestling, right? If you can, and the master can either beat everyone really fast or try, right, their best to survive in wrestling, right? So I'll tell you a little bit more about the format. So the chess game itself is going to be blitz, right?
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes, meaning each player receives 5 minutes of thinking time for the entire game. While the chess game itself like might last for a maximum of 10 minutes. But after 3 minutes of playing chess, you stop the clock and players begin a 2 minute wrestling round. So once that wrestling round stops, and then the players will return to a 3 minute session of chess, right? And then you pause the game and you come back to it. And then you just keep going back and forth until someone wins in either game. And there's like more online if you want to learn all about the specific details, like, okay, draws and tiebreakers, right? And there are ways to score points in wrestling, right? um, in the draws and the tiebreakers as well that you might want to read more about if you don't know much about wrestling, just to see how it goes. But we're also going to have commentators at the event, so they'll be explaining stuff to you. I tried to get someone from both sides.
No, this is interesting, and we'll definitely post it in the description so people can see the official website and how the festival will actually go. I was just curious how you're going to improve that previous one. So it looks like from the video that I already saw, it seems that you have already the players set, right? Are you still accepting registrations for the chess wrestling?
No, for this year, we're gonna set it because we're gonna have individual informations and like stats and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to keep it very small because I want it to be a broadcast. So I decided to cap it at like max six or seven, where I'm still actually deciding whether I want six or seven people because there might be an odd one out. But it's always good if that people want to join. There were some I know that there are people emailing me as well who really wanted to do chess wrestling. And last year, like my inbox had a lot of people like that, and I'm really excited that people want to get into it. But I think that that might have to happen like after this event, either more individually, or we're gonna see where this goes. Basically, as a college student, uh,
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a lot of work on your part. I was curious, are you going to compete yourself?
yeah, I'm definitely gonna be competing. I'm in charge of it. I gotta compete.
Okay. So the commentary that's gonna happen, assuming so you said you're gonna have an international master, a very famous, author on Chessable, particularly John Bartholomew, who's going to be doing a simul, you said, but also probably commenting on the chess part, and then you'll have someone who will be commenting on the wrestling, right? Are the people competing gonna be able to listen to that, or is it gonna be kind of separate just for the audience who's gonna watch?
This is for the audience because I'm sure the chess players are going to be distracted. We're going to have a broadcast set up on YouTube. The link I'll also send you the link for that, and we'll have more promotional videos and sneak peeks and instructional things coming out as well over like the month.
And people definitely should go and check out all of your videos. I already saw one of them, and I thought it was very beautifully made. And I love how you're saying you're gonna highlight a bit. You're gonna have parts that will highlight the careers of some of the people who will compete, probably whether it is wrestling or chess, so that people have an idea who it is. And it's always nice, I think, to start it out, to be one of the first ones. And and then if you mentioned already last year when it was just kind of like trial kind of event, it worked that great. I'm sure that it will get even more viewership, because based on your explanations, like I said, it was definitely motivating even me, who's very scared of any kind of touching anyone too much. It really gave me some interesting points about how strategic wrestling could be. And the festival it's gonna be called, you told me, McAllister Chess Festival, and will be organized the weekend of March 1st and 2nd, right?
Yes, and we'll have more info. Yeah, we're gonna have the tournament link up in a little bit. Um,
Awesome.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to mention that we're going to have women doing this as well, women against men. So,
Hmm.
because we had that last year and people were fine with it. People really enjoyed it, just overall. And I'd really like to see more of that, just because obviously it's a co-ed event and you don't see that very often. I just like to see the stereotypes being broken as there are more women's wrestling teams showing up, and just more women's chess clubs as well. So I was like trying to
Uh,
take that.
I love that, Sophia, because I think we need to find more to empower women to know that they can do, no matter what it is that they set their mind to, regardless of potential setbacks that may get in their way. Just if you set your mind to do something, you shouldn't let external factors be stopping you from doing it. And it started, I loved your talk about this, particularly when you started telling me that you got back into chess and you wanted to win against the captain of the chess club in your high school. So that was just that was the start that made me realize you're definitely not going to let anything stop you. And I'm very excited for you and this event, and I hope people will be watching. Now, I gotta ask you this question as well, Sophia, because you are a senior in your college. You told me you're just doing a chemistry degree, and with music and English minors. And I just, how do you have time to combine everything, Sophia? Tell me a little bit about how you manage everything.
I feel like I'm just like a little bit addicted to working. I think it's been a problem actually because I had to sit down the other day and I was like, I was like I was trying like I was after I was done with my final actually for chemistry and I was just wiped out and I couldn't do any work and I was just like okay, it's okay to sometimes just like relax for 10 minutes, and just watch something stupid. Uh but
T-
I basically, yeah, my days are really full
10
basically.
minutes is all the time off that you give yourself?
Okay,
I
well,
hope not.
I go to classes, right? And then I have an internship, a chemistry internship that I go to. And then I come back from that, I go to more classes. And then after that, I go teach chess classes. And then I go, then you play cello and do like, go to my either wrestling, chess, or like one of the other clubs. And then at night, I have a library job, and then I use that partly.
To
And
do
then
chess.
that's my
You do
relaxing
chess.
time. Yeah.
In your the library job, do you do chess during that time because it's more relaxing?
I would love
Uh,
to, but there are patrons coming up, so you
yeah.
gotta actually pay attention, unfortunately. Um,
That's
but
very interesting because you said about that. I actually had a job when I was first a student when I came to the US. I was feeling a bit like you, like I wanted to learn as many things as possible and do as much, particularly to improve my English. And I had a job as a media librarian. So I had to help people with checking things out and helping them with computer stuff and things. But I remember I was using that time to do chess because I couldn't find time for chess anymore. So it's nice to hear that some people are doing better at managing their time than I was. That makes me feel bad a bit, but that's okay.
no, my time management is pretty poor for chess because I do my playing like junior year. I would go to bed at midnight and then I'd wake up at 6 a.m. to try to do chess. And I was just at one point I was like I was falling asleep. Like I was seeing uh, things dance in front of me and like on some pages of sheet music. And I'm like, I think I need to sleep.
You're still very young. I hope you get some rest. It's easy to, I think when we're younger we're full of energy and we want to learn so much, but sometimes that burnout can really add up. So I hope you get some time to rest as well. And I was joking a little bit earlier, but like I hope you get some time to rest too, because sometimes that pressure can be really tough. I also noticed, by the way, Sophia, going back to the chess part, that you're streaming and you're having some good results as well in your chess and trying to get better. And I guess somehow during all those times you find time for it. And I asked you earlier what your goal was, and you mentioned you want to try to get to national master in chess.
Yeah.
Why is that the end line?
Okay, like last year, if you had asked me, I would have told you I wanted to be a grandmaster, which
Okay.
obviously is like ridiculously hard. But it's just there's this one thing I don't know. I keep seeing that um maybe it's like a little bit controversial, but I keep seeing that women are satisfied with the like a title, and I get that because it's so hard. And I realize now that you play hours and you do so much, and it's hard to reach these titles. um, so I'm just like, this. Maybe it'll be more if I can do better, but I'm honestly just like, I just want to reach one thing first,
Mhm.
and we'll see. It's really hard, I know, to get anything else.
That's true. It's not easy to reach, a goal, but what I like to tell people, and I can see you're doing a lot of things and you're very passionate. It seems like for every single thing that you do, that you like and you want to learn more things. So sometimes it's hard to really be your best at every single one of those things. But what I like to advise people in general, is to try to set, like uh, goals that can be reached, easier at first, but then also like higher goals that even if you don't reach, there's always something higher that you can always work towards, and it's not gonna stop your passion for that specific thing. Because sometimes when we have a goal and we reach it, then it's just, I don't know, I feel like The moment is great. Wow, I reached this goal, but after that, it's just like, okay, I reached this goal. Now what? So I always like to have, future goals that even if I won't end up reaching, I'll feel that it will be motivating. So hopefully, you won't stop at that. You won't stop yourself at that if you reach it. And you won't let anything, be in your way of continuing your progress. Because I know sometimes it's hard, but there's always going to be losses. The important thing is what you do with those losses, if you take them as part of your learning process or not. Last question for you before we get into the game that I'm very excited for you to share is, how do you deal with losses? I loved your explanation when we were preparing for the interview. So now I want you to tell us, how do you continue motivating yourself when you're passing through a loss. And yeah.
Oh, well, I definitely don't sleep the night after. Like the position just kind of like behind my eyelids, the position just keeps playing out, and I'm like, how stupid was I for, like for something that maybe happened, or maybe I just didn't play an opening with enough that gave me enough counterplay at the beginning, or something like that. Like it'll be yeah, I try to forget them. It might take me a week or maybe more, but I will eventually get over it. And I just like really enjoy chess. I'm really trash at bullet, but I just got a new mouse, so I'm gonna be trying out my best.
If I may give you an advice, first of all, Sophia, don't say negative things about yourself. Okay, it just happen. We'll make mistakes. If you can try to be positive, to take that learning. I know how hard it is, and we should always talk about ways to improve to get over losses. And then bullet, take it for fun, play it for fun. Don't let that be part of your process of improvement, because I know some people, some strong chess players have managed to get stronger by playing bullet, but I think for most of us, it's something that can affect us from an emotional perspective. Because if you start losing, in bullet, and then you keep playing because your rating goes down and you're focusing on that, and it just never ends. And I think you don't have enough time to really think things through. So, do it for fun and try to find the excitement in it. Please don't take it necessarily as a means to your improvement.
Oh
Hopefully.
yeah, for sure. It's just I've been using it to try to because I've been very slow at moving, and it's definitely helped. Like there was a team chess tournament that I was playing, and I was playing in 1800 on the first floor and then a 2100 on the second floor. And I think bullet really actually did help me because
Okay.
I only could make one move, and then I had to rush up to the second floor to see if the other guy had moved because like one of the teams was missing a player. So I was like, I'll just play for both of them, right?
Wow.
Like it was really surprising result, actually. I thought I was going to lose both games, but I got like 1.5,
That's
which
pretty
I was
impressive.
actually also winning the second game. It's just there were 6 minutes left in the bottom game. So the 2100 offered me a draw, and I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm going to take a draw. Like with 6 minutes, and then I have a second game downstairs with like 10 minutes or 18. Sorry, it was 18 minutes, yeah, left.
That's impressive, Sophia. I gotta say, it's really impressive. I mean, okay.
I was really
Well, maybe it
surprised too,
helps.
believe me.
Most people I asked, the bullet does not help. So, but I like to use puzzle rush or puzzle storm as a means to improve faster thinking, as a way, I think, and not playing, because I feel that at some point in bullet, towards the end, is just about time, not as much about the chess. And it, anyways, that's my
That's
my
true,
approach.
yeah.
So, Sophia, you have had some quite impressive games, and you chose one for today to share with us. So I think we
Yeah.
can get into it. Tell me a little bit how, where you played this game, who your opponent was, and yeah, take us through it.
Yeah, so I was playing National Master, and I believe it was also, yeah, I'm trying to think if I was in school or not at the moment. But I was very nervous. I was very, very tired, and I just like one of my friends convinced me. They're like, do a tournament, like even. And I was very stressed because of chemistry and whatnot. But I decided, okay, it doesn't matter. The results don't matter, right? I'm just here to have fun.
Okay.
And I was really surprised by the results because yeah, it it was pretty good.
So your opponent
And
was like a national master, and this what was the time control for the game?
90-30.
Oh, okay. So it was super serious game. And when did you play it?
Actually, I don't even remember. It might have been a few months ago.
Okay.
I've played more games since, but I feel like this is probably one of the higher rated ones. So I was like, it was also a very slow, it was like a slow grind, and there wasn't much of anything he could have actually done. Like the computer was equal most of the time. There was only one very small way to save the position, and it was just very hard to play as a human. So I just thought that was interesting.
I agree, and I can't wait for the viewers to look at the game as well. So you started with the Sicilian. Is this one of your main repertoire? If you can
Yeah,
share,
I
or maybe
like
not.
playing it.
You like playing it? Okay. So
Yep, I took.
uh, and here you played a6. I have tried this line myself. I usually I've attempted knight f6, but it was on a different move order. I would play knight f6 first, knight c3, and then knight c6. So it was a completely different move order here for me. But
Hmm.
okay, tell me, um, how do you do with your time management, by the way,
In this game?
in this game? Yeah.
Oh, this game was actually fine. Okay, because I think he spent a lot of time thinking later in the game, and that helped me. Usually my time control is has not been that amazing, but in this one I was actually keeping up because this is like my opening. I know my opening. I knew my plans,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just playing something that I knew. Like when that pawn is on e4, my idea is just kind of, yeah, bring out the knight. And then I'm like, okay, so it seems like I'm just developing a piece, but really I'm preparing to play bishop b4. So, yeah.
Pin the knight, and then you're gonna hit d4, so white has to figure out what to do with that pawn at
Yeah,
that
and
point.
sometimes people play something weird like f3. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, it's hard to kind of defend this pawn. You'll see actually how he deals with it. Also pushing doesn't really work if you want to, yeah. I think he actually played
He played
f4.
f4, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he
Because yeah,
was
after f3, I've seen people play f3 to try to create that chain of pawns, and then after that they castle, and then they later try to figure out how to continue. But when you don't have d6, sometimes you have the opportunity to go bishop d6 and put pressure. I think I've seen some games. I don't know if that was the move that you were gonna play after f3 or bishop b4 maybe. Um,
my main idea is just to try to, yeah, I just trying to break the center. So I probably would have still maybe gone ahead. Yeah,
you can
with
go d5 or bishop d4.
yeah. Yeah, so I would have gone ahead with that and I would have just kept I just knew my plan. I just
Okay.
kept going.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So he went f4, bishop b4.
And see, that's what I mean. Like you get weird moves, like because he's trying to defend that pawn because he's played f4. Um, I don't really have any big threats right now. I'm just trying to break open the center, sort of, and get my pieces out because my bishop is still stuck on c8.
And d5 is quite a typical move for very Sicilians. You're trying to attack the center and give yourself more space. And here, after he pushed, your knight d4 is kind of a nice outpost. Did you start feeling comfortable in this position that you got the chance to kind of equalize?
Yeah, I was like, okay, this definitely seems to favor me like a little bit. Just because I also have the chance like to take on c3 and that will later happen. And I was already like, okay, my knight on e4 looks so good. Like it's gonna be really hard to get rid of. He's gonna have to play like bishop f3. and okay, whatever. I can just move the knight, play knight c5, and attack the queen.
True.
So
And then with a
it's just I
bishop.
feel like I know my ideas. I'm gonna castle. I've got things to do. I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't know what his counterplay is.
That's true, yeah. You also, when the bishop goes to f3, you will have the c4 square as well, that you can try
Hmm.
to bring the other knight to maybe, and just kind of have a kind of a French pawn structure. I've seen people usually try to go for f5. That was something I was going to ask you maybe about later if you felt that he could have done
He
it.
did try to do that later. Here I made the decision to just take. I'm just gonna create that double pawn.
And
And I was like, it'll be a target later. It's something small, but I also just like the fact that I like, as you said earlier, knight a5, knight c4, and my knight finds a home there. And now I have two knights and some really nice squares.
that's true. I personally, knights are my favorite pieces. So every time I see a game where there's an outpost and a knight can go there, I'm always quite excited about it. I gotta ask you just for the purpose of to know more about you. Did you ever consider in this position to take with the knight, or did you feel that your knight was better placed there than you would have been if you stayed with the bishop and had the bishop there?
I feel like if I take here on knight c3 and the
Mm-hmm.
pawn takes back, my bishop gets kicked away, and then where's it? I don't know. Bishop c5 doesn't seem amazing. Yeah, bishop e2, e7 doesn't either. I didn't like going back. I wanted to move forward, and I guess I could have still played knight a5, but he could have traded off right away. And
Right.
it's just like a little bit harder for me to develop. Like bishop d7. Sure, I have the bishop here, but I don't have very much space in my opinion.
Yes, because you have this French pawn structure. I was just curious about your thinking process, and this is something people who are watching also can learn from. Sometimes you give up bishops for knights, even if bishops technically are better than knights, because you have the ability to utilize those knights in a better way. That's your good bishop, but you want to give it up because you felt that your knight in the center was so strong. So I love how you chose to do that, to make that decision. Okay. So he goes bishop f3. And were you worried at all that your knight had to go back?
No, it attacks the queen, and I'm like, on the next move, I'm getting in knight c4. I like once again, I just did not see his counterplay. I could have also taken on knight c3. That was
Mm-hmm.
also an idea, but I was thinking after bishop d2, there are complications, and I'm like, nah, yeah. So I
Yeah,
just didn't want to deal with that. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna attack him, simple move. I'll get the doubled pawn if I can trade queens later. It's gonna be a pretty big weakness. Or even with the queens off the board, if I can just play bishop d7, rook c8, right? Which is
beautiful.
kind of yeah.
Yeah,
Which is why I didn't play knight c4 right away. I just thought I have time. I can develop this bishop first.
yeah, exactly. Very, very nicely said. That is a long-term weakness, and you don't need to rush to take it right now because you can take it later. It's not going anywhere. And your knight in a5, people might say, "Wait, that knight is on the rim," but rules are not always gonna be applied all the time, right? Your knight can come to c4, keep those pawns blocked, and then you can win them, as you said, anytime. Very nice. So you went bishop d2,
Hmm.
and he came here.
Yeah, I don't know why I forgot what exactly his idea. I think it's just very hard to move here for him. And that's kind of where the problem was. Maybe he was worried about knight c4 and I attack his bishop and he was trying to prematurely move it back.
Mhm.
Um, but I think it's very hard to figure out what to do here because I don't have any weaknesses that he can attack right away.
Yeah, the only thing that I see that black should be potentially worried about is this f5, but right now, this pawn is hanging, so maybe he can try some, I don't know, I didn't check it super well, but maybe rook e1 to get the bishop back and then keep this pawn protected so that this move can happen. But
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
think actually that's why, yeah, now that I remember, that's probably why he played bishop f2. He probably wanted to just defend that and push.
Right,
Um,
but his choice, as you mentioned, it's kind of suspicious because he blocks the f file if he wants to play f5. He should have the rook opened, right? Because that's why you want to go f5 to open up your rook, not just to undermine black's chain of pawns, right? So he wasn't sure. I think it's quite obvious, yeah. So you castled. You weren't scared. Were
no,
you
I
scared?
wasn't worried.
Okay. He doesn't have a bishop, so he shouldn't be, of course. Okay, and then he tries. He tries to go for f5. All right. Tell me your thinking process here.
Okay, well, I can't let him play f6. That was my first thought. So I very quickly just took on f5 and I'm like, okay, whatever. He takes my central pawn. And then I go, I just put that c3 pawn is basically mine. Like
Yes. All of those might be yours eventually. Okay. I love your rook e8. And then he goes bishop g3.
Yeah, so and then here was kind of he's giving me a little bit of a nasty threat. He wants to play e6, so I had to take care of that. And here I had to decide. It was like one of the hardest parts, I think, because I'm like, okay, I think I might just want to block that and then try to go for that c3 pawn later. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there was only one way for him to save himself here. This was I don't remember the computer eval anymore, but I believe that he did have to give up that pawn on c3.
Yeah,
There was like a
I
way
think
to
he
do
gave it
that.
up. He gave it up the next move, right? But you're deciding here between bishop e6 and knight e6, I think, right?
Yes. So I just considered apparently apparently the computer thinks that knight e6 was better and it was like taking on f5 and it was like a bit complicated, but obviously as a human I'm gonna just see other things. Yeah,
Right.
so it saw something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as a human though, I was like, I want to trade pieces right now,
So
and
you
just
went
go
for
for that
bishop.
C pawn. And the thing is, he can't really take this. I just saw that he can't take with either piece because, right, my pawns get connected.
Very nice. And undoubled, and now there's no attack, definitely. And those are still there. You
Yeah,
will
so
get
bishop.
them.
That's why putting one of those pieces there was my big idea. I was like, he literally can't take it. So, which is why I just didn't consider much else. I suppose I could have been more thorough here.
Well, sometimes it's tricky, especially when there's a lot of pieces hanging and you're trying to think which one I want to trade. And I have the feeling you were still thinking maybe your knight would go in the center in e4. So when you felt this bishop was restricted earlier, so maybe in your subconscious you were like, I need to get rid of that bishop. That bishop wasn't doing anything. Maybe. I'm just trying to.
I do think so. Yeah, I wanted to keep that knight. I wanted to keep both my knights, which is really unusual.
Hmm.
And the nice
No,
thing is his bishop can't even go back. Like it can't go back to c3 where I undouble his pawns. Like his my knight will just take it. So he kind of has really not a lot of choices here. And he still wants to hold on to that c3 pawn, right?
so he
So,
played c4, which was not very wise, right?
hmm
And now how do you remember how much time it took you to find your next move here?
probably like 20 minutes maybe because I was like, okay, do I want to make this trade? Because I also noticed he doesn't have he has to commit his bishop somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That dark squared one.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, it's very interesting how this went because I was like, okay, knight takes on e4, he takes back with a pawn, right? Is
Wait.
basically do I lose that f pawn
You mean
for
here after
yeah,
this? Oh,
do I
okay.
allow him to take this with the bishop? Okay,
But
sorry.
did you at
Yeah,
any
sorry,
point
because
think
then I
of
have bishop
this?
c4.
At any point think about this move or not?
Uh, wouldn't that just give him the
It,
central
it
command?
does. It does. No, I wanted. I'm just trying to help like people who are watching also to realize that, oh wait, why didn't she take? Because sometimes you see two pieces and they're about to be traded, and people are asking, why don't you do that? Exactly. No, I love your response. I'm putting you here on the spot there, Sophia. I hope you don't mind, just a bit because I want people to see also a bit of the thinking process that goes through mind of various players, right? Like your bishop, you specifically told me and the audience 2 minutes ago that you put the bishop there to stop the threat, and this simply after the trade you got rid of the bishop. So that is a move that you wouldn't want to consider, right? So good, very good. So
Yeah.
94, it's gorgeous. You come back to the square where you left earlier because you're forced to, but now he can't take, as you said, right? Because what do you have? You take back and then bishop
Yeah.
c4.
Yeah, bishop c4 is the main threat.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of if I don't even take back oh wait, actually yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely one of the Yeah, it's just very annoying for him because he's losing. Yeah, either way, we just trade the pawns, and his pawns are really split up at this point.
Right. And you don't care about taking like that. That's not something you're interested in. You'd rather take that pawn. So he went bishop e1 here, right? And I think this was something else that you had mentioned to me that was possible, I think.
Yeah, I was worried about. I was considering like, okay, knight f5 might be a bit worrying. Uh,
So you would
yeah.
take, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then queen c5 and is it queen c5 or you take here first
Yep,
and
yeah. I think it's queen c5.
because I feel
H
like this
takes
could
queen
work.
c5.
This could work maybe too, no? I don't know. One of those.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, I'm
probably the
sure either
same.
way you take the pawn, and it's just his e pawn is very, very weak,
Mm-hmm. That's right. And
and
then
so is
those
the
two.
c pawn.
Very nice. So he goes bishop e1. Okay. So did you start feeling like, oh, I guess my position is getting better now?
Oh yeah, as soon as like my opponent's pieces start moving back, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, that's good for me. That means they're having trouble and their pieces are falling over each other. So I must be doing something right.
You're doing great. You're doing great. So you take this pawn, which I know the engineer wasn't really liking the best, but I hope you didn't feel bad about that. I think it's a pretty good choice for you here. And
Hmm.
then took and he played what? Bishop takes a5, right?
Yeah.
And okay, here I think his best move was rook d1, right? Or something. And he played here.
Yeah, I was kind of at first I just saw a phantom threat and I shouldn't have played rook. I should have just moved yeah, there was I think there okay, so
Which
I was
moment?
worried about this move because I was like, okay, my rooks could get disjointed. It's just like I have a very bad problem where sometimes I'm winning games and then I just make a mistake out of nowhere. So I was being very cautious around this moment. It's actually why my rating has stayed kind of like like not great over time because like I'll be a piece up and then it's just like something very stupid. It's also a thing that happens to me just in general with exams and whatnot. Like I'll make a tiny mistake and it's like it's not even the main problem. It's just like maybe I didn't put a negative sign on that physics test, right? And then that cost me a bunch of points.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I just moved the rook.
That's always the tough part, Sophia, because like in chess, when yeah, in chess sometimes when you're winning and or something and you make a mistake, you can still come back from it. But when you start, the toughest part of chess, I think, winning a winning position. That's what it is, to win a winning position. So I don't know how it can really get improved. What I usually tell people to do is when they have the time to work on chess, set up positions that are winning and play them out just against the computer, like the highest level. Just set up a position with a piece up that you did not win and try to see if you can win the highest level of the computer. And that typically has helped people improve, like be more confident in their skills that they can actually win it, but it does take time to practice that part. It's not easy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's why I was just being super cautious and I didn't even consider my most aggressive moves, which would have been queen d4.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that, right, and I should have seen right away the warning signs. The rook is lined up with the queen. And at this time, he was very low on time. He was very low on time near the end game. He used all of it up trying to defend that middle game, which it was hard. His pieces were stumbling over each other. I don't blame him. Uh, yeah, so there's a nice little tactic here if the viewers are interested.
Yeah, pause
Knight
the video,
g3.
pause the
Yeah.
video and think about it for a second to find it. Yeah, Sophia, I'll let you share it.
Oh yeah, sorry, knight g3. Yeah, that was the big thing I missed. It's just I was being so timid because I was so scared because I've messed up so many games, so many
Mm-hmm.
very good games that I spent like hours playing, and then it's like something at the end just falls apart. So I was just, yeah, don't
Right.
be scared, people.
Yeah, because like normally you see that, and you saw I highlighted that to kind of get them to consider one idea, but there's this extra idea, which of course, like if you're focusing too much on one idea, you might miss something even greater because you might play rook f6 and suddenly, oops, wait, you're not winning anymore. So of course you need to look on the entire board, get the queen, and then you can go for the mate too. But yeah, this would have been nice. And it's kind of hard for white to meet it. But you played rook f7 more cautious.
Unfortunately.
Did you
Yeah.
consider rook f6 at all, at least, to try to kind of have the rook going and there, or
I did. I was just really scared that I would miss something and
mm,
that
maybe this
things would just get
diagonal?
disconnected. Yeah. I don't know. I was just, yeah, I was just being way overcautious because I was just like, he's a very high rated player. I'm like, who am I, right? Like, so I was just very, very nervous. And so I started missing things.
But now that this game happened, Sofia, and you saw you can beat the national master, I hope you gained more confidence not to say, well, this guy is so much better. You know, remember when you play a game against someone, it's always a fight between you and them, but like external factors don't matter as much because it's just one game and anything can happen. Don't try to think about not putting yourself down because I can see you're super talented and very knowledgeable about a lot of things, and um a lot of people that I know who are like that sometimes put themselves down, and I think if we find a way to forget about external factors, it can help you in general with having more confidence both on and off the board.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind. Yeah, I definitely, right after this, actually, the next round I won a 2100. So I was like, it was so weird because I was like,
You were on the roll in the tournament. See
yeah,
it.
I was doing really well. Yeah.
See it works out. You just need to try to play the best moves that you find and just improve your position.
Yeah. So here I was basically instead of a nice pretty like winning the queen, I was instead forced to play a little bit more of a yeah,
Back
a
to
little
the
bit
positional chess kind of.
mm-hmm.
But then you still he still blundered and he let you finish off the game with a tactic, right? In this position.
Yeah, he actually did let me like he was nice enough to just like he saw it and he was just like I'll let you. Um yeah, so at least it's just here he was low on time. He literally had seconds, so he was playing on that 30-second delay. And he's kind of like yeah, so he doesn't seem to be a speed player. So, I mean, I've seen him play like speed chess, but I don't think it was like 30-second chess, if you know what I mean. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just a panic move, but he let me finish it off. I think he just knew he was losing.
It's kind of hard to protect these pawns because now you can't move the rook because of d3, so it's just you're kind of stuck. And there are some discoveries with this knight eventually. So yeah, and now again your beautiful move that you missed earlier, but now you did not miss it.
No, I
And
was given a second chance.
see, second chances can happen in a game. You know what they say: the person who wins a game of chess is the one who makes the penultimate mistake, and well, the ultimate one leads to the defeat. And yeah, the game finished really nicely. Like, although I know you, based on how you're talking about it, I can see you're proud of it, but you feel that maybe it wasn't a perfect game. But I think Sophia, you should have the confidence that it was because you know think about how far you've come. You've taken care of your pieces. You've gotten some positional advantage, and then you kept pressuring someone who's much stronger on paper, at least. Okay, let's not say in who knows, maybe in real life too, but on paper that's how it was, and you were able to outplay them. So very beautiful. I really enjoyed your game.
Thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time to commentate on it.
I hope I gave some advice that you'll be able to use in the future. I've learned so much from you, Sophia. I really enjoyed our interaction, and um, again, very excited about the fact that you're starting out this chess wrestling event. That I hope everyone is gonna watch this video and go check all the links. We're gonna put them in the description below, and um, yeah, tell me so far, like right now, I know it's still far ahead, but do you feel that um you're gonna get a lot of people coming into the event?
I have a feeling because we're offering a lot. We're not going to do a very high registration fee, just a normal tournament. And for that, you're going to get to, You're gonna get to probably meet John Bartholomew, and you get entered into a chance to play the simul. You're gonna see him do the commentary live, and right, you also get a show. You get to watch the broadcast live, so and just be engaged and participating, and maybe you try some chess wrestling on your own.
Of course, of course. And yeah, who doesn't want to see John? Is one to me, I always said he's one of the most professional people, if not the most professional person that I knew in the chess world. So is very and is great with explanations. I think people definitely enjoy the chess part. I'm sure you're gonna bring someone who's gonna do great with the explanations in the wrestling. That way, people learn about the game too, and just get to see the connection between the two. And I hope it brings a lot of popularity because I hadn't heard about this before. So hopefully, you're gonna make a big thing out of this, and people will watch.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see what happens. It's a totally new thing, but yeah, I'm happy to be piloting it.
Well, I hope people see it and you get a lot of views. I really appreciated you to taking your time after your finals to tell us your story, tell us about your experience with chess and wrestling. I feel that there's so much more I could ask you, Sofia, but I don't wanna have I want people to come watch the show and learn more about what you do and maybe we'll have you back after the event is over and so that we can hear how everything went and of course everything will be linked so that we make sure that everyone knows about what you do. Thank you so much. Great game as well. Like I can't say enough how excited I was to be able to go over the game with you. Hopefully everyone watched and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.